I look at my life as a garden and I sow seeds. I sow seeds wherever I go. No matter what it is, I sow a seed. And then I nurture it. I nurture it. After 3 months, I look and I do a rake. I do a rake and I rake away the duds so I can have fresh soil. And I look at what's blossoming.
Hello and welcome to the Innovative Mindset Podcast. I'm your host, Isolde Trachtenberg. On the show, I interview peak performing world changers in the creative, social impact, and vegan spaces. If you like what you hear on this episode, you're going to want to check out the bonus mini episode that you can access if you DM me at Isolde T on Instagram and you let me know you want it. You'll get access to bonus episodes, new art, my latest writing, and other fun benefits. And now, let's get to the show. Hello, and welcome to the Innovative Mindset Podcast. I'm your host, Isolde Trachtenberg. Super honored that you've taken the time to be here today, and I'm super honored and excited to have a returning guest on the show. She's a dear friend and an amazing artist, and I'm just really glad to have her here. I want to welcome Kyriaki, aka Katie Elizabeth Chonacas. She's an artist and has been in the entertainment industry now for 2 decades. She's a screen actor, a voice actor specializing in cartoons and animation, a musician with her most recent album called Dreamland 1111 that she released on 11/11. She's the host of the hit podcast She's All Over the Place. She's an author of a phenomenal book of poetry called A Lover's Fairy Tale. And now she's also an NFT artist, collector, and curator. I mean, come on. Katie, I'm so glad that you're here. Welcome.
Thank you for the beautiful introduction, Isolde. It's an honor to be here. Thank you so much. Hi.
You're the best. So there's so much that you do. You're such a Renaissance woman, which I really appreciate about you. And you're also an incredibly giving and incredibly, giving is the best way. You're a giving artist, you're a giving friend, and I'm so grateful that you are in my life. And there's so much that goes on. I don't know how you keep it all straight, but I do want to ask you, let's get started. First of all, how does all of this fit together? How do you do the entertainment, acting, the animation, the NFTs, the albums, the books? Where does it all intersect? How do you put it all together?
Well, honestly, the thing is, everything's really in rotation. Like voiceovers is really consistent every day. Thank God. Thank goodness gracious. I love voiceovers. I can be anywhere in the world and do my voiceovers, but you get to read it. Like you get to make actor character choices, but you get to read it off the iPad. So it's not like an on-screen audition where it takes like maybe 2 to 5 days to prepare and it's like more work because you're memorizing. You can just like literally look at the page, make choices, work with my coach, and then like you send it in within 12 hours or within a few hours. So those are fun things that are in rotation that are consistent. My podcasting, I batch my episodes. So when the season comes, they're already pre-recorded. With poetry, I have thousands of pieces of poetry that I've written since I was 12. So I have a bunch laying around. So I'm like gearing up to release my next poetry book, but it all kind of works in rotation. Like I remember when I was like in Hollywood and it's like, all I wanted to do was acting and only acting. So I stopped doing everything just to focus on acting. But it was like, the manager and the casting directors, they don't want you sitting around twiddling your thumbs waiting for an audition because that's like, it reeks desperation and they feel it and they know it. And you put so much pressure on that one thing. So you're supposed to have like a life going on outside of acting, even though you're focused on acting. So by me having all these different ventures that I'm interested in the arts, Broadway, theater, plays, communication, language, travel, culture, food, by doing all these things, keep me really filled up in my life. So I'm like, when I have an acting opportunity, I'm actually able to make, better choices, deeper choices, stronger choices for the craft of acting, for my poetry, to express how I'm feeling, even through the pads of the instrumental of the beats. I look at that as poetry myself. When you hear the instrumental on music, to me, that's poetry with sound, just like lyrics with words are a vibration of sound in poetry.
I love that you said that. It's interesting. I had Odyssey, who's a phenomenal hip hop artist, on the show just a few weeks ago, and he was talking about the very same thing, that there's an interplay that happens between the beats and the spoken word. That there's almost a relationship between the two of them. That there's a give and take. When you are doing the work that you're doing, where does that push pull come from for you? Where does your inspiration come from?
Yeah, I mean, it depends what we're talking about. If it's like a podcast, if it's someone that I see, I'll like, oh, I'm like, it's like this intuitive hit where I'm like a huntress, like Apollo's twin, Artemis, right? The goddess of the hunt. And I'll have this intuitive hit and it's like this hunger and I'll just go for it and I'll reach out and be like, hey, like your voice, what you're talking about is really interesting to me. And if it's interesting to me, I feel like my audience will find it very interesting too. So then I'll invite them to be on She's All Over the Place podcast, which I'm in season 4 right now, which is women empowerment, exploring divine femininity. With, poetry, as an NFT artist right now, it's been awesome because there was a curation for South by Southwest that's happening right now. And specifically, it was about, South by Southwest, the land of Austin, Texas. There was Barton Creek. There was Lady Bird Lake. And I don't know these places. I've never been to these places before. But with the research that they gave us, and I looked it up and I Googled, I had physical paintings that I took photos of that are 3-dimensional art that I put, for the NFT. And then I'm like, I'm a channeler. So I channeled all this information and I wrote 2 specific poetry pieces for Austin, Texas, for South by Southwest. And then as it penetrated a couple of days later, I'm like, oh my God. Well, for people, they're going to see the image, they're going to see my art, digital art. Then they're going to be able to read alongside the poetry of the piece. Well, how apropos that I have a home studio and I'm a spoken word poet. And for the person reading it, if the person could actually hear my voice, my essence, my being, my spirit of who I am, what I'm growing through, what it means to me, and how it can transcend and relate to them and affect them in such a way where it's like they could read it or they could listen to it. And if they purchase the NFT, then they have the option to reading it and or hearing the actual poet. Like if we were able to hear Maya Angelou to this day, wouldn't that be amazing? Because we have Maya Angelou pieces and, all these great poets, and if we could actually hear their voice. So then instead of it just being a JPEG, I turned it into an MP4. And so my voice, a voiceover artist and being a spoken word artist, loops with the poetry so you can see the work, hear my heart and my soul, and then read the poetry as well. So it was really magnificent for that, to happen. And I'm a part of another collaboration that's called One Drop on the 21st. And it's about, women and their menstrual cycles, right? And how so many people are feeling shamed and blamed about those things. So I have a piece of dope art, if I can find it, that will go really well with it. And I'm going to write a piece and then I'm going to record it. So so it's like the poetry that they can read, but with the spoken word of my essence, my voice, the conviction of what it means to me. And through my experience, sometimes you can directly say things, but sometimes you can say things indirectly and still get the message across because people understand and hear the tone and the vulnerability in which way, in the way one speaks.
Absolutely. Albert Morabian talks about this notion of 7, 38, 55, right? So 7% is the words you say, 38% is how you say them, and 55% of how people take in communication is body language. So the fact that you're putting all 3 of those together is really incredible because you've got the visual aspect of it, you have the words themselves, and then you have you speaking, which I think is phenomenal. And I think South by Southwest is lucky to have you. I'm wondering, when you mentioned a whole bunch of things, and I want to sort of unpack some of them. You said that you're exploring divine femininity with the podcast and also with some of your NFT art. What do you mean? What is divine femininity to you, and how are you exploring it? What aspects of it are you exploring?
Sure. Well, if you listen to Dreamland 1111, my new debut solo album, you'll definitely hear the words more eloquently of, some of the teachings that I've learned thus far. But, for me, And I want to just say I'm in a New York condo and there's impromptu construction. Something happens. So if you hear any sound, that's what it is. That, but Gary Vee says it's all about the content. Just roll with it. Just show up, right? So
Absolutely.
just wanted to, respect that. If anyone's like, "What is that sound?" Because my ears are so sensitive. But as a child, my mom and dad were kids having kids. They were literally teenagers. One second. My mom and dad were literally teenagers having kids. So, um, they had my sister and awesome. And then they had me. And I don't know if it's my intuitive hit of a psychological thing that I just felt that I brought onto myself. I don't know what it was, but because they never said this to me, but I've always felt like I was supposed to be a boy, right? And
Mm.
I don't know if it's like in a spiritual realm of knowing or just like the idea that it's like, okay, I want to have a boy, then I want to have a girl. And that's like the American dream. Like you have a boy and a girl. So maybe I picked that up through the TV. I don't know. They never said it to me, but I went around with this script that I made up. We make up scripts in our head and we attach them as truth and we tell a story, even if it's happened or not. So I always grew up saying like, I was supposed to be a boy. I was supposed to be a boy. So I always felt like a town boy growing up and I'm an artist. And I always felt like really chill. Like I'm really girly in ways, but also I'm very like, like I don't know. Some people would think I'm like butch or something with the way that I dress, or I'm just so like chill, like, I don't know. So it's like it was always like really weird and it felt really uncomfortable. And so with that, self-identification was really challenging for me. And I was silenced about it. I wasn't able to communicate that to too
Mm.
many people. Although all the boys and all the men, quote unquote, all these, people, genders, they were interested in me. I just felt very like, shied and closed off and to that sort of energy. Well, then when I was a kid, I always wanted to have like a career, like as a business, quote unquote, woman. And I just, it was that construct of, all or nothing, have a family, don't have a career and like don't have a family. Because once you have a kid, you give it all to them. So like I always just knew at a young age, I wanted children, but I wanted children later on in life. And so I found through my journey, I've been birthing, poetry, music, acting, like all these things. These have been my babies that I've been birthing. And, I would do everything. I would work smart. I would work hard. I would self invest my money into headshots, to classes, to, networking events, like to traveling for work, like anything you can think of. But when it came to capital, when it came to a quote unquote angel investor, someone like investing $1 million or 500,000 or 30,000 or 50,000 or even 10,000 or anything, like I always look to quote unquote men. I always look to them to like support and fund my goals for humanity, for my heart, for my career, for like what I wanted to do because I had a bigger purpose, to do more things. And I felt like everyone was like that. I felt like everyone wanted to do things for humanity. I felt like everyone was wanting to like, live their best life and do all these dreams. And, if someone would just like support them with, funding and financing. So I went and I had seekers and mentors and a lot of multi-billionaires, a lot of multi-millionaires. And, I went to like all of them for money. And it's like, they would like me around for a good time, or they would like me around for my energy, or they would like me around for like friendship. And then they would, there were the ones who would like, I would hang around them and by observing, I could like listen to what they were listening to, see what they said, see what they stayed away from, which books they read, and like meals and travels and like, activities, those things would be complimentary and taken care of. And, being able to build friendships with these kind of people. But when it came to actually like giving me straight up cash, it just never fucking happened. Excuse my language. It just never happened. It's like the only way it would happen, and these are against like who I am and what I do, but like it would be like all that false power. So I would see like a lot of girls come and go and for bags, for materialistic items that don't go with us when we're gone, but the illusion of the power and the the material and the fun of having those materialistic items. and then, being able to get cash and have like this person invest in their career. I just saw a lot of manipulation going on from the guys and the girls. The girls getting manipulated, the girls manipulating the guys. I know a lot of male identifying people, they feel so used, and that's why they don't give out the money, because they're around all the people who just want their money, so they don't give it out, right? And so they probably look at me as like that same kind of person, like, why am I giving you money? You're a nice person, but how are you different? Especially if you're not like giving it up in a sexual way. So all of that I think is really disturbing, and I think it's really unhealthy. So that took me on the journey of exploring divine femininity and exploring one's power, in all genders, and to demystify, like, being able to, like, you're a lot of girls, they play themselves so small, and they feel, and guys do too, and they feel like in this power struggle, there's false power, there's money being used in manipulative, unjust ways, say, in business. And then, women have the power of the P, so they do it in that kind of way. And I learned very young, at a young age. I was exposed to all those for reasons I won't get into right now, but I was, and I didn't want to go that route. So it's been very challenging. One of my mentors say, like, kid, you saw too much too soon. So sometimes when you see too much too soon, then you expect a lot more, out of yourself, from society, from people. So with that, I like went on this journey, and I had a lot of success. And then, I got into this relationship, and then I was kind of like, my light was kind of dimmed. I felt like I was isolating. I felt like I was doing a lot of growth, and I'm very grateful, but I feel like I was hiding too. And I don't blame or shame anyone. I guess I had to grow through some of these experiences, but like, I had this knowing and this deep knowing ever since I was a kid, but I felt like now I'm on the journey when I released Dreamland 1111, and when I released the Women Empowerment series, when I'm like, season 4, this is what's going to be about. I made a declaration for not only one, to explore divine femininity, to claim and reclaim their power, because for me, it's like I already had my power, but I realized along the journey, a lot of people haven't known their power. So it's for them too, but primarily the vessel is me reclaiming my power, knowing the power that I have and reclaiming that. So then by doing it and being brave and having the courage, hopefully others can do it too, in all genders, not just females, but all people.
I'm taking all that in for a second. Wow. There's so much there. I feel like this notion of reclaiming your power, people and reclaiming their individual power, it is powerful, and it's also really scary, right? Mm-hmm. Especially since we're living in a time right now where people are misusing power, right? And so do you have any thoughts, and if so, what are they, on how to reclaim power safely and use it wisely?
Yeah, 1000%. 1000%. There's so many things we can do. So, and it's do the work. It's not work like a 9 to 5 kind of work. It's listening to this podcast right now, to being inspired. What moves you? Listen to that. What moves you? Shape shift into that. Whether it's doing a podcast or doing a voice memo to get the energy out, energy, emotion, right? Energy is energy, emotion. Listening to spiritual podcasts, practicing compassion and kindness with not only others, with self first, because it's a ripple effect. And anyone or anything that's abusing us, anyone that makes us feel less than, who's not listening to us. And we get into, what happens is when someone's not listening to us, we know it and we want to revolt and get away from it. But what happens is there's this neurological connection where that bad habit keeps happening, that thing that we don't want. And then we become addicted to the bad habit. So a lot of these people are addicted to the bad habit. And I know because you see it happening over and over, and then you get so frustrated with yourself because you're allowing it, and you feel like you're condemned, like, oh, this is my husband, this is my partner, this is my person, this is my child, this is my my grandma, like I have to, like I'm like all or nothing. But what you can do, so it's not psychologically like traumatizing, because they say, there's a famous quote, like, when you love someone, you let them go gently. So you don't have to scream in the face and let them know that you're unjustified, that they're hurting you, because they don't mean to. They're stuck, and they don't know what's keeping themselves back. And we're looking to them for love, to understand but they're not the person to be loving and understanding that very thing we need. And we're not being that for them. More than likely, we're not that, even though we want to be that there, even though we want to be there for them like that. And so the best thing is creating space, psychological space. So it's like, I give the example of like, if you have to talk to someone on the phone, right? If you're living with them, this is a different story. We can talk about that. But if you have to talk to someone, let's say 30 minutes on the phone every week, you have to do it. But in your mind, you're the whole time you're perpetuating this energy and this angst of, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. You're manifesting this horrible energy, not only for yourself and for your life and for the bond and the kinship that you have with this person, you're doing it for them. You're not giving them credit. You're not empowering them by showing up to a conversation you don't want to have. But there's something about you that feels like you have to have this conversation. And there's something about you that does want to show up. So how about you get authentic with yourself? And when you get authentic with yourself, then the other person will appreciate you a lot more. And then you'll start enjoying that time when you say you're going to show up, how you're going to show up. And if it's for 30 minutes, maybe the first time after 20, be like, oh, I got to take a call. Oh, I got to go to the bathroom. Oh, I got to cut it short this time. And then you go. And then you're reclaiming that 10 minutes per week. That's 40 minutes per week, instead of manifesting, saying these horrible things that you don't want to say and connecting with someone you want to connect with, but you don't want to connect with how you're connecting. When you start reclaiming and taking back that energetic time and space and power for self, that 40 minutes, you could be doing a podcast. You could be praying. You could be listening to an audiobook. You could be journaling. You could be doing something that you want to do. So start filling your cup up with things you want to do more. Pivot and shift. We only can focus on one thing at a time. So pivot and shift that one thing that you want to do. Start doing more of that. If it's to go to get sushi or whatever, like go for a walk or go to a bookstore or walk, go get for a walk in a park. Like that's you being harmonious with your spirit. You're listening to yourself and you're doing something that's going to enrich self. And when you enrich self, you're going to enrich the person that you're wanting to help. You're going to enrich other people. And so that's steps, the actionable steps that we can start taking. And then you're being more authentic to yourself. And then you're going to have divine connection with this person, because then that other 40 minutes, they're going to actually find another person to talk to. They're going to actually do something with their time that's, pleasurable for them. They think that 40 minutes, is pleasurable with you, but for you, it's not. But sometimes that's hard to communicate to people because our feelings get hurt. So you don't have to communicate to let them know. When you pivot and you just start taking action, everything else reveals itself, right? So it's like if you're living with a person, like start taking more walks, go out to listen to that podcast, like go to a coffee shop. Like if you're both homebodies, you're going to have to be the one that shifts and put on the headphones, listen to the headphones, do something, have conversations, listen to that audiobook, get involved in other communities. And if you're with the person 100%, that's so unhealthy, right? It's so unhealthy. I know, but I was so addicted to someone where we had to be together, although I knew it was unhealthy, and I would still have a social life in some realm, but not in the way that was healthy for me. Like I would always be like very codependent, like tagging this person along because I just always wanted them to be there. Even though on a psychological level, I knew that it wasn't the best thing to do, I still did it anyway. And we do that. We know it's not good and we still do it. So what's going to happen? We're going to get beat down. We're going to get tired over and over again. Something's going to happen where it's like our bodies, our spirits are just going to collapse. And do you want to wait until that happens to take action? No, but people do. And so a lot of people, when their sisters die or, their parent dies or something traumatic outside of themselves happens, then they wake up and they're like, oh, I got to, get past my 60 to 70,000 thoughts per day, according to Dr. Joe Dispenza, the neuroscientist. They get past their 60 to 70,000 thoughts because something so traumatic happens that they root underneath those thoughts and they uplift to shift their circumstances. I'm imploring you to do it with grace and to do it without something traumatic happening, right? To do it before one collapses or something traumatic happens, because it's just like it's like going downstream. You're either going downstream or upstream. And if you're going upstream, you know you're going upstream. You know it's tiring. You know it's exhausting, and you know you keep doing it. You know you don't want to. You know you're exhausting your spirit. You know you're crying inside because you're not listening to your younger self, and you're not fulfilling your goals and your dreams, and you're not aligned in the way that you want it to. And you complain to other people, and you blah, tell everyone about it, and blah, tell everyone about it, and then people just keep listening, 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 and you're conditioning them to, let's say, oh, it's okay. They're allowing you to stay in your victim mode. They're saying, oh, it's okay. And then you go to do something and you go to tell that person, and they're in their mind, you've already proven and shared with them that you're not going to do it. So then they're like, okay. And then that's a whole nother conversation. If you say you're going to go do something, because you've already brainwashed them that you're not the person who's going to go and do it, because, they're in your pity party with you because they're your friend and they love you.
Yeah. And what's interesting about everything you just said, that notion of we support each other, and hopefully we're supporting each other in the interest of the highest good of the person we're supporting. But sometimes we help them keep going in patterns that aren't good for them. And so there's a really interesting thing to explore there, I think, about when you're offering support, you want to offer support out of love in the hopes that you're doing the right thing. But something you said sparked something in me, and it was that there's a big difference between being stuck and being still, right? So when you're still, it's about self-awareness. Do you have any thoughts about how someone who is in some of these negative patterns could root down and really build their awareness of self when they don't even know, when they don't know how to even begin? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, what comes to me is Caroline Myss, MYSS. She's a mystic intuitive. You can download Overdrive and download up to 30 audiobooks per month for free. And she has like 10, and it's her voice. You hear her essence, her soul, her being, of how she speaks and what she's saying. And, one of the things she talks about is most people, or not everyone, but most people, I'm sure, hopefully you can relate here, but when someone's talking, catch yourself, be aware. Like if you're just nodding your head yes, just waiting for them to shut up. Like you're just agreeing with them so they just stop. You know what I mean? You're just listening to them so
Yep.
they just stop.
Right.
So she says don't do that, because when you're shaking your head yes and you're listening, you're aligning and attuning to that vibration, which is lowering your vibration. If you do not align to what that person is saying, do not listen to it. Do not shake your head yes so they shut up. Pivot and get out of the conversation. Get out, because you're agreeing to something you don't agree to, or you're hearing something you don't want to hear. Like just literally pivot and get out of the conversation. Like, I have to go to the bathroom. Oh, I have to make a call. Like have your tools ready. So when you're in that situation, be like, am I listening? And I have this negative chatter in my head right now, because that's like really messing me up right now. And it's not supporting this person who wants to be fully immersed and involved and heard from their spirit, because they're excited and they're expressed, but it doesn't matter. Like, you want them to be excited. That's cool. But it's not your responsibility to like maintain their excitement. Like they can express it to somebody else. Like just because, they're your partner doesn't mean you have to like, cheer them on with every single thing that they say. No, some people are just annoying and you just don't want to hear it. And that's totally fine. It's fine. That's why there's over like 8 billion people in the world. But like, stop agreeing to stuff we don't want to agree to. Like, that's a great hack, right? Stop agreeing to things we don't want to agree to.
For sure.
And
that I agree with. Well, 100%.
And the other thing is like, awareness, like being aware. Like most people are just on their autopilot, where it's like you're in a routine, so they're not aware. So maybe do a sweep. What I do is like, I look at my life as a garden, and I sow seeds. I sow seeds wherever I go. No matter what it is, I sow a seed. And then I nurture it. After 3 months, I look and I do a rake. And I rake away the duds so I can have fresh soil. And I look at what's blossoming, like our relationship when we met, right? It was a seed that I sowed, and I nurture, you nurture me, we nurture each other, and it's growing. And then, we sow more seeds. But like, so check in, like weekly, monthly, every 3 months, like look in and see like, okay, just sow the seeds, don't judge, sow the seeds. and then rake away what's not there, non-attachment. No worries, it didn't work out. There's over 8 billion people in the world. Those were duds. You just rake them away so you can sow more seeds. You're sowing more seeds. You're nurturing it. You're watering it. You're nurturing it. You're watering it. You tend to it. Oh, this one looks like it needs more watering. This one looks like it's healthy. It's doing very well. And so that's what one can do to on a psychological level to check in, like in my work area. How's it going? Do I need to nurture it more? Do I need less hours? Do I need to start putting together a new resume, getting a new job? Do I finally want to start the business that I've always wanted to start? Did I do that? How's that going? Do I need to bring an assistant on, a liaison, an intern, someone, that can find time to talk to me for 30 minutes just so I can get stuff out so it's not ruminating in my head. Start shape shifting the energy if we're stagnant and stuck. Move. That's the best thing to do. Literally move. And not only physically move the mind of like how we're enriching our souls and our hearts and the tools in our brain, so the mind can keep growing, staying active and building. We need to do it with other people. That's why actors act. Like actors can't act by themselves. Okay, if they're doing a monologue, sure, but like acting is listening and then responding. And so in life, we're just like, this could be a scene, right? But you're listening, the person tuning in is listening, and then I'm speaking and I'm going to stop, and then you're going to respond based off of what I said. So it's a back and forth. And so if it's not going well, I'm going to be like, oh, Isolda, I got to go and go on with my day. But if it's going well, I might be here for another 2 hours. You know what I mean? So it just depends on the day and the circumstances. So we need to check in with ourselves. And the other thing that's really important that I tell my coaching clients is this. People meet me and they're like, oh my gosh, like you have so much energy. And I'm like, yeah. Now what I do for the last few years, because I have so much energy at my 100, but people think I have so much energy when I'm at my 80. So I let people think my 100 is when I'm at my 80. So I check in with myself at 80 and I'm like, okay, do I need to sleep now? Do I need to meditate? Do I need to call someone? Do I need to work on my acting stuff or my voiceovers? Or do I have it in me and I'm having fun and I have some more fuel in my gas tank and I want to keep it going for another 5-10% and then call it quits at 90 and be like, let everyone know like, hey, like, I'm almost done for the day. Like, thanks for having me, and let them think that's my 100. But it's kind of like rotors and on brake pads. When it makes that sound, when you're like overextending yourself, don't go to your 100 to have the burnout. Don't go to your 100 in your relationship and with your workplace. Go for 100 for yourself. Go to 80 for everyone else. Leave that 20% for self. Even if you're like, oh, I don't know what that is. Leave space for curiosity. Leave space for the unknown. Leave space for stuff to come up so that you can filter it out.
I'm taking all this in for a second. I love that notion of leave 20% for yourself so that you can explore and get curious. And to me, what I took away from that was self-love, right? That this is you loving yourself enough to prioritize yourself, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's hard to do for a lot of people. A lot of us get taught that we shouldn't prioritize ourselves, that it's selfish or self-centered or whatever. And I've always wondered, what's wrong with being centered on yourself? There's nothing wrong with being centered on yourself. It's just that we have this negative connotation of it. And yet you went through and you wrote, you've written, you said thousands of poems, but you put a collection together about love and about lovers in Lover's Fairy Tale. And I'm wondering how did you come to choose that as your theme? Or is it just related to that 20%, that self-love that we're talking about? What is the theme in A Lover's Fairy Tale? And how did you come to choosing out of the thousands that you have, the relatively few poems that are in the book?
So thank you. Great questions. Two things. One real quick. That 80-20 rule, I didn't know when I was doing the book. I was like a kid just going with the flow. It's what a formalized for me the last few years when I started doing industry coaching, which everyone can do by going to chonacas.com and just booking with me. But the other thing is when we're leaving that 20% of self-care that's not selfish, it's self-love that you mentioned, it doesn't mean we have to do it alone. We can, but it can mean hanging out with my mom or calling my mom or hanging out with my partner. Like it doesn't mean it's just self-care. That self-care might be going to get a massage. It could be going to get a massage or grabbing dinner with a colleague. It could be, that could be self-love. Like, whatever that is for you. It doesn't have to be alone. We can self-love with other. We can nurture ourselves and while we're nurturing others too, and it's they're nurturing us by spending time with us and we're nurturing them by spending moments with them, it's really, really beautiful. And the whole thing about self-love and selfishness, like I never got it when I was a kid. Like I just had this knowing and I held this space for me. That's why I was celibate for 7 years. That's why I traveled the world, was single and I really wanted to at a very young age. I was reflecting. I was seeing how not everyone, a lot of people were having children and then they were blaming and shaming and projecting and upset that they weren't fulfilled. And I'm like, I don't want to blame and shame on my children and have them then vicariously live through them because I had lack thereof. So I'm like, I want to experience this life that God gave me. Like I want to experience my cup fully, that I'm overpouring. So then when I throw in the towel, I can say like, I did it all and I'm so grateful. So then, when I do, God willing, if it's meant to be, have a child of my own, then I can embrace that and then explore that whole life of motherhood and that bond if it's meant to be. But when I made the choice, as a youngster to seek and see the world and travel around, I wrote these pieces and during that era of those pieces, I didn't know, I wrote thousands of pieces before them, but I didn't know that these were going to be the 11 pieces. But what happened was in 2020, well, in 2020, I said, normally I'm a kid in a candy store. Where's one place in the world that I've never gone that I've always wanted to go to? But I wasn't traveling because of what was happening in the world. So I pivoted the quality of the question. What's one thing that I've always wanted to do that I haven't done yet? And I'm like, oh, I've always wanted to be a published author, like have my own poetry book. And I'm like, whoa, I wanted this when I was 12. But also I was like, yo, they didn't have self-publishing then. They didn't have Amazon or YouTube. So I gave myself a 3-month hard stop and I had 3 months to research, to play, to go all in, to discover what it would look like, the images that go with it, the pieces I would choose. And I wanted my first one to be like a cherry, like the Virgin Mary, the stigma, the unconditional pureness of life, untainted, untouched, and how I was able to, with my vessel, experience life and feel the richnesses of the universe, Mother Nature, untouched, without having an emotional partner get involved in my emotional state and being. Because I saw that at a very young age of like how people were being in relationships. I'm like, I want nothing to do with that. I don't want to be distracted. I want to like fill up my cup 1000% fully, 1,000,000% fully. So I did just that. And then, during 2020, I was reflecting, I was looking back, and these pieces, along my journey as a producer, as a director, as a poet, as a spoken word poet, as a musician, I actually started, producing these music videos, and they were my spoken word music videos. So 9 out of 11, I did have all 11, but this person took my content and lost it. And that was a really big no for me as a producer, that the cinematographer gave it to him without my permission and he left with my material. So that was just a lesson for me as a producer, like to, be responsible for those things. But I would have had all 11 spoken word music videos, but I have 9 out of 11. So out of the 11 pieces I chose, it was like this unconditional experience of love with the universe and what was gifted to me. And through literature, you can go anywhere around the world. And I'm adventurous and I have risks to go places. But along my journey, I know a lot of people are scared to go on planes. They've never left their city. Like they've never left their state. They stay in their cocoon. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's different kinds of people I learned along the way. But, this is for like a parent to read to their child. It's friendly for a 12-year-old. It gives you this fantastical imagination like Mark Twain gave me when I was a child. And so it's very clean for all ages. And then the person who's sitting at home, who, doesn't want to go on the plane, they're able to vicariously through my spirit see and feel what I saw and what I went through. So I think literature is a really beautiful thing. So on a macro level, I did it on multidimensional levels, of doing the first book, A Lover's Fairy Tale. And that's where this book came. And then my next one, already before my first one was out, I titled my second one. I already put the pieces together, although they're not out, but it's called The Naked Truth. And it's like completely opposite of, A Lover's Fairy Tale.
It's completely opposite. Okay. And, hold on. So you say it's completely opposite. It's already titled. Do you have a release date for it?
Well, I wanted to do it March 21st right now, but I think it's going to be too soon. But National Poetry Month is April, so maybe I'll drop it coming up here. It's my goal to make a hard stop and drop it. So maybe I'll drop it during, I think the 21st, obviously it's too soon, but maybe I will, but maybe I'll just drop it National Poetry Month as well. We'll see.
Yeah.
I don't have a date yet.
It's a great, it's a really interesting pivot that you've made in order to make that happen, right? From something like A Lover's Fairy Tale. And I imagine it's the transitions in your own life that are guiding you in the decisions that you're making as far as your creative endeavors and your creative output. Is that what's going on, or are there more environmental factors involved in how you decide what you're going to do next?
Oh, say the question again. Sorry, my brain went away for a second.
Sure. So what I'm wondering is, do you make these pivots? Do you embrace new projects and new ideas from the inside about what you're curious about? Or is it more environmental factors, like things that are happening outside you that spark your curiosity, and that's why you move into new directions?
Both. Definitely both. 1000% both. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like the poetry pieces I wrote for South by Southwest, like I curated those because of a specific thing that was happening. And it was really beautiful because I was like, wow, like I can write about anything. Like I'm able to just drop in and write. Like literally, if you give me a topic to write on something, I can like literally go, and it's like I feel like I've been wasting all my superpowers. Like I could be doing this more often for more things. Like I could even be writing like a poem about Ukraine right now and then doing a spoken word piece and donating 100% the proceeds to the Ukraine crisis. I could put it a part of our collaboration. Like I could release as an NFT, we could do anything. It's infinite. Like we hold ourselves back, but the opportunity and the possibilities are really there if we stop making excuses for ourselves of why we can't do it. Like, why not? Right? If someone's asking why, like why the F not?
For sure.
And the environment, I went to a place because I'm about sustainability. I'm about, the animals, and, Seaspiracy was really impactful watching that documentary. And, speaking up about Ukraine, because I'm a photographer and I love traveling the world. I've never been to Ukraine. So I was reflecting like, I've never been to Ukraine. I've never been to Russia. I want to go to Russia. I want to go to Ukraine. I want to take photos. I want it to be beautiful. Like I'm Greek. I'm not Ukrainian. Like I'm not Russian, but like still like, so I'm like, how does my voice matter? So I kind of just was thinking and kind of stayed muted, but I was really frustrated inside. And then I dyed my hair blue. And then I was like, you know what? Like, what if I dyed half my hair yellow and half my hair blue? That would make a statement. I changed my PFP profile pic on Instagram for the Ukrainian flag. I'm like, and I was so enraged. I'm like, I did a podcast on it. I'm like, you know what? Like, even though I'm not Ukrainian, like this is happening in the world. There's a lot of hurt and frustration and disaster that's been going on. And now this, and it's going to continue. There's going to be things that are continuing to happen. And I'm not going to be the person that I once was that was taught to turn a blind eye. It's not affecting you. It's none of your business. Pay no attention. Don't say anything. Don't get yourself in trouble. Be a people pleaser. Stay quiet. No, I'm not staying quiet. I'm not being a people pleaser. It doesn't matter if I sound ridiculous or like a hyena or whatever. It doesn't matter how I sound. I'm going to start messy, and I employ the listener to start messy. I don't know which direction to go. There's so many directions, especially after we overthink, we overanalyze things. Just one step in front of the other. Start messy, show up, be vulnerable, cry, get the emotion out. We need to shape shift as a community, as a society, like together, period. Hands down. Staying home, in our homes, behind the curtain, like it's not affecting us, that it's just going to pass by. And some moments do. This too shall pass. So we pick and choose our battles to speak on, our battles to fight, so we pick and choose. But some people aren't authentic with themselves. And so they want to speak, but they don't know how. So if you want to speak, start speaking. Even if you don't know what you're saying, it's better to say something and show up and contribute, because that one word could shapeshift somebody else to open up a whole can of worms, and they may be the very thing to say everything you've been wanting to say. It's like a baby. When a baby's a baby, it's hooting and crying and all that laughing, the giggly, but they don't have the language, the word, the sound, the vibration. We do, because we're learning it. So that's how I apply it to Web3. People are like, I don't understand what's going on. There's so much going on. Yeah, it's a new language. It's a new way of being and thinking in the world. Like on a psychological level, like do your own research. Let's learn and grow. And it's not like an overnight thing. It's a development. But the important thing is to be interested, to start asking questions, to start speaking up and get involved with people and communities that align to who we are and how we want to help. Because we're all good human beings. We all want to help. We all have good intentions. We've all had things happen that have been unfortunate, without comparison. We all had things that we feel like, we got the buck end of things, right? And so we can relate in multiple different ways. By that simple truth there, if that's where one wants to start, that's truth. Like I have a bucket of crap. I'm sure all the other people have buckets of crap. All right. Well, how can we empty these buckets? Let's figure it out together.
I love that. Yeah, I sometimes feel like I'm carrying a couple of buckets of crap myself, so I completely relate to what you're saying. And yet, to me, like one of the things that I've been talking about to my clients, to the people that I work with and coach, is if you're feeling stressed, if you're feeling freaked, whatever it is, express it, right? And if you want to express it through your art, through creativity, through a pencil on a piece of paper, it does not have to be this wild and crazy art installation. It can be something that is a drawing that you do, or a poem that you write, or even just a note that you write that is expressive of how you're feeling. You never know what you're going to find as far as other people relating deeply to the things that you say and do. So your points are very well taken. And I'm wondering, like you're in this space, when you mentioned NFTs, you're in this space, and it seems like it's very new, and that there are a lot of people really looking at how to express themselves in Web 3.0. But when I say a lot, when you look at the wider population of the world, it's a tiny, tiny percentage of people who are actually involved in this brand new way of looking at things and doing things. And I'm wondering, you're sort of a trailblazer there. What is happening there? What is going on? And how are these communities being built? And is love the glue that binds them all together? What is all of this stuff that you're so into with NFTs and Web 3.0?
You kind of nailed it. It's exactly that. The people in the community, I've been involved since 2018, and the people in the community who are shape-shifting our new world, right? By taking massive action, or one leap, or one step at a time, just by having this conversation, you're partaking, right? You're shedding light on it, and it's happening. people like some people are so wrapped up in web 2 and the way of the illusion of that world, but there's a whole nother world already going on. It's so exciting. And it's astronauts, it's the scientists, it's the innovators, it's the artists, it's tech people, it's yes, financial people who have money who can help the planet. They're people who are having generative projects and projects, and you can go to their IO website and you can look, from their Twitter handles, their roadmap, and they have a roadmap like 10%, 20%, all the way to 100, and their intention and what they're doing. And they're paying it forward to, maybe a women empowerment platform, maybe a mental health platform, maybe, what's going on in Ukraine, one for the animals. Like there's so many different projects happening. And it's like, what do you align to? I know you align to science. So maybe Isolde wants to be a part of that community because, it's a great community of like-minded people who are into science. And they're also doing things for you in the community in addition to people where like it supports them, research or, something like that. So it's not just like the JPEG or the MP4, right? Because they're digital assets. It's not just like a JPEG. It's what's behind that JPEG. You own the copyright to that JPEG. So you're invited into the community and to this world of what's going on. If anyone screenshots and takes a copy, they're not going to get all the utilities that come along with, like, for example, Astro emojis, right? It's Marwan. He's the artist from Egypt. He's really big in Web 2. He sells stuff to like Avril Lavigne and a bunch of like amazing, people and artists or whatever, but it's cool work. And Astro emojis, they're the very first mental health and wellness project on the blockchain. And they're actually hosting the first mental health and wellness festival in the metaverse on the 19th. And that's why I asked for your speaker sheet, because I'm going to include you because I know you're wonderful in so many ways. And it's going to be a monthly thing where it's like Lightning in a Bottle or Burning Man meets like spiritual conferences, wellness places, and you have so much you can talk about. So this is going to be happening every month. So it's happening this month. And they asked me, I'm a part of the community, with the affluence and my friendships and, things of that nature. So I'm curating for people to be speakers. And that's why, I got your speaker sheet so I can bring you on and have you be a part of the community. And there's like Q&A back and forth, and it's in the metaverse. So it's happening this Saturday on the 19th. And the thing is, like if someone went to go mint, that's what you do. You go mint to purchase an Astro emoji. Let's say this project we're talking about, and you get it. But the utilities that come along with that are anywhere from $2,000 to $5,000. They have a partnership with Wim Hof. He has the Wim Hof breathing technique, and they have all these other utilities that go on in real life events. So when you're going to events and places, like these are the people you want to vibe and meet with and curate and befriend and ultimately like do business with too. And you know what I mean? Like you can scale and shapeshift and do business with these people. Like, let's say you do voiceovers and you're involved in this community and everyone knows you do voiceovers. Well, if someone works at Disney or if someone works at like a brand agency, they're going to be like, yo, this person is in my Astro Emojis community and they do voiceover. I'm going to want to hire them because I like them and we're a part of the same collective of like where we're growing. That's where society is going, right? Because everything's like all over the place, disconnected. So that's how we're reconnecting through social media and through Web3 on a very deep, deep level. And it's all through the heart, not the pump and dump projects that come and go, like not the ones where you see the paid influencers who are getting paid $10,000, $30,000 to post it on their stories and blah, blah, blah. And they're taking the money. They're the scammers and the ones that are saturating the business in an unethical kind of way, but they don't know any better. They're still in Web 2 and they're just collecting the money, but they're getting a lot of people in trouble and giving it a bad reputation, but that's a part of life. But when you're so strong through the heart and through love, like you said, unconditionally, that sustains more. And that's where our world is going. And that's what we're building here. And so everyone who is onboarding and being a part of it is going in that direction. And the rest will just be out of it and the rest will just follow. And then, and I don't know what Gary Vee said, but in X amount of years, everyone will be owning an NFT at some point, because like even right now we're doing it. When we go to the airport, you don't have to print out a ticket. You can just use that QR code. Same thing as an NFT, right? Same thing.
I hadn't put that together, the QR code, but yeah, it's a singular image that no one else can ever use. And there it is. And it's got those the QR code. If you don't know what it is the little black and white squares that make up some sort of a pattern, and your phone can recognize it if your phone is new enough. So that's fast. Oh, go ahead.
Same thing with getting a ticket to go see Britney Spears in concert. You have that ticket. That ticket's for you. If you lose it, you're screwed. But with a digital asset, if you had a Britney Spears ticket, you don't have to worry about losing a physical ticket, because it's attached to your name on the blockchain. So even if you lose it, it's all about decentralization. So you can look up on like Etherscan, and you can look and see on the blockchain that you own the utility for that. You could sell it to someone, you can gift it to someone, but you own it. Not anyone else can use that ticket for Britney Spears. And like you said, you scan the QR code for your flight, it's one and done. You can't use that QR code to go on another flight. Same thing with certain NFTs. It might, like when I was in Art Basel, my friend Gregory, he had a collaboration with deadmau5, and they were gifting away, onboarding people and gifting away NFTs for deadmau5. So I got one, and now I have an NFT deadmau5 NFT, and they were just giving out 1 million of them, but I don't know what that's for. But now that I have it, it could be like a ticket to see a deadmau5 concert, or it could be backstage with deadmau5, or it could be like a free merch from deadmau5. And I have that. I own that. Right?
That's fascinating. And so if I am a 6-year-old, actually 6-year-olds probably know how to do all of this. How do you do it? How do you get involved? What's your advice for somebody who goes, "Oh, I'd like to know more"? What is your advice for somebody who wants to get involved in NFTs, to become a collector or to become an artist? What do you think someone should do to begin?
Great question. There's so many different things you can do. One thing, speaking of the youngsters, like the kids already get it. They're going to have the easiest time, because they're not programmed by society like a lot of people have been, right? They're not programmed with the government and the rules of society, of how they work and how they don't work, and the awareness of how they don't work and what people are upset about. Kids don't have that. And kids are already doing it. If you just think of Minecraft, Fortnite, Roblox, like those are the same thing. Like I was with my nephew, Peter, he's so cute. And I got we was playing Minecraft on my phone. I downloaded for him. Auntie Katie, can you buy me this, Auntie Katie? And I bought him like 5,000 gold coins. And then he like used them all up, and he was able to go to different places and pick up different digital assets. And then and then I'm like, just play with the ones that you have. Oh, Auntie Katie, can I have more? It becomes very addictive, and you like want to purchase more. I'm like, yo, kid. I'm like, all right, I just spent $76. I'm like, we're good right now. Like enjoy the ones you have, like, because it's on my phone, not his. If it was on his, it would be different, but they're on my phone. But so kids are already like really hip on it. But yeah, things people can do. One, I have a biweekly Zoom. So you can go to my website, chonacas.com, and I have a biweekly communal Zoom to educate people about what's going on. I do one-on-ones. I do consultations. So we can have a consultation. Everyone's different on their journey. Also, I have a pink sheet. So if you go to chonacas.com and you sign up on my mailing list, I have an automation set up where it sends you a pink sheet of ethical people that I love, admire, and believe in, people you can follow in Twitter Spaces. And I would 1000% get in Twitter Spaces. It's on your Twitter app. And when you're following the people that I just mentioned, including myself, you can just click on Twitter Spaces, go to the top, and literally there's a room that's happening right now. Witchy GF, they just went public on their mint, and I have a Witchy GF. It's a part of the Nifty Castle crew. I have a DBs, and because I had a DBs, I was able to mint a Witchy. For every DB, you got to mint a Witchy for free, which is really cool. But it's public minting now for everyone who wants to pick one up. It's a great community. They have like dope utilities and good people. But anyway, so like 24 hours a day, there's literally rooms going on. And if you follow the people on the pink sheet, there's plentiful rooms for you to jump into, because you want to have like ethical, good people to know who to follow. So you're not following people who are like disconnected, who are trying to like pump and dump and pour things out in a unethical kind of way. So I'm really, I really hope this goes on YouTube, because I've ran into a lot of people who say, oh, I've been researching YouTube for the last year, and it's all these dudes. They're saying you need a lot of money. They're saying, you know, you need like all these Wall Street people, blah, blah, blah. So we need more divine femininity. We need more female voices speaking about the space on YouTube. I haven't done it yet, but I definitely want to do a bunch of YouTubes so they can see me as a divine feminine being speaking on the topics I'm talking about right now, so they're not misled or are taken advantage of. So that's the thing, you know, we have to make sure we're not being taken advantage of. If it feels too good to be true, it probably is. You know, do your own research. Like, just don't go like spend money and invest. Like the community knows. Be like, yo, you know, this person who did this and this and this. Like, yeah, but are they doing it in an ethical way? How are they doing that? Like this one guy I just found out about, like he sells out companies, blah, 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 sells out projects. But the way he's doing it, he works with the influencer team where the influencers don't know what they're doing or what it is, and they're just getting the money for it. And it's like, that's kind of like the irony of like the not the judicial way of doing things, I think, because they could be getting a bad rep. So you have to know the project, the people behind it, and the longevity of it, right? The longevity of the utility, because hopefully, you know, we're going to continue on in life. And then when we're not, we can pass it down to our loved ones. We can gift them to people. And, you know, there could be generational wealth, meaning Blau, who revolutionized the music industry last March, then he created Join Royale. And it might be Join Royal, but I like Royale. And they're doing collaborations not only with known artists but unknown artists. But their first collaboration was with Nas because of his ethics, his music, his vibe of who he is. And the project sold out in less than 30 minutes. And I was in the celebratory room when it happened. And there was a woman on stage crying and so ecstatic because she's such a big fan of Nas. So whoever's listening, like, who are you a big fan of? Maybe you don't like Nas, but who are you a big fan of? So replace this story with someone you're a fan of. This woman was a big fan of X artist, Nas, and she was crying. She was so excited because she's always been a fan of this person, this artist. And she's so happy because now she's going to, like, her kids will have generational wealth because of all of Nas's sale, X artist sale. The people, the community who bought a piece of the album will get the residuals of the album. We'll get the residuals. Like, I don't know if it's for merch too, but the exclusivity to all of the earnings from that album, now it'll go to the people who invested and bought, whoever, and then it'll go down to their children and their grandchildren.
Wow.
And instead of Spotify, iHeart Music, or the they, where like you can like stream 1 million and get like a couple pennies to every time you sell. Like, you know, it's taking the power back as humans, as artists, and as humans being sovereign beings. All right. Instead of like having all these companies make the residual incomes for us, we get to have that residual income. We are taking the power back, reclaiming our power as a society, reclaiming our power. And the other example I'm going to give is this, because for any like artist tuning in who's an actor or not even an actor, because my friend brought healthcare to the space. Another friend of mine, she brought nonprofit to the space. It's trying. It's an uphill battle. It's difficult, but it's happening. But this is it. Like, when you're a union actor, you get residuals. They can play it for 4 weeks, 16 weeks, 13 weeks, whatever. And then if they want to use it again, they have to re-up that contract, and you get residuals for every time it plays. Radio, TV, voiceovers, all that stuff. Now, being a non-union actor is just like being an artist with a gallery. You're going to get a deal one time. Your agent or your broker is going to take the deal. You're going to sell it to the gallery. You're going to do the job for the client, and you're never going to see a residual income from a non-union job, or being a physical painter, or photographer, or a sculptor in a gallery. It's gone. It's out in there into the world. I got my feet it's done. They took a percentage from the gallery and the broker if you have representation. Now, if you have a physical painting, right? Or photography or something, you put it on the blockchain, someone purchases it, then the marketplaces have smart contracts. And I put 10%, most people put 10%. But then let's say someone's holding on to it, they buy it. But let's say 3 years from now, I'll take me as an example. I'm on a huge ABC show and oh my God, whatever I sold it for $300 or $30 or whatever, now it's worth like 30,000 or 300,000. So then that person flips it and makes money. They make money, but every time it sells, it's in the blockchain. It's embedded through the smart contract. I get 10% of whatever they sell. Every time it sells and resells, I'll always get that 10% as like a residual income, like a union actor.
That's really cool. So if I wanted to mint, I guess the right language, I feel like I'm a 5-year-old. If I wanted to create an NFT, if I wanted to do something, it doesn't have to be art, it sounds like. It can be poetry, it can be music, it can be just about anything. Can you talk about what the differences are and how someone would do that? How would you create an NFT like that?
You can literally take a photo of your favorite shoes and say, these are my favorite shoes. You write a description. These are my favorite shoes. Why? These are my favorite shoes because they're by Ferragamo. I love Ferragamo, and Ferragamo designed these specifically for Audrey Hepburn in the 1950s. They're vintage now, but I got them when I was a kid, and I got them on my first auto show when I was a product specialist for Ford Motor Company. And these mean so much to my heart and soul, and I'm selling it as an NFT, and people like that story. It's like going to a GoFundMe or Indiegogo. Like people are like, I like that story, and they purchase it to be a part of that essence and that vibe of that community. That's if someone's doing it as like an independent person. People are also taking sports cards. It's huge. Sports cards, like those, it's like remember like when everyone collected He-Man or the sports cards signed or rare coins, you could take photos of all of them and put it as an NFT collection and sell them. And it would be so unique, rare, one of one, because no one else has it except you, and you're putting it on the blockchain. And now someone can own it, and you can do a one-on-one, or you can be like limited edition, 11 people can buy this. Or you can be like 100 people can buy this. You can make the price what you want, and you can say one person can own this, or you can say 1,000 people can own this NFT. What makes it unique? What makes it rare? It's such a new game that anything you want to happen and any idea that you want, it's probably a yes, you can do that. And you could probably be the first to do that because it hasn't been done yet. The space is so new. And you could, like, I am the very first artist to release a love poem on the blockchain that's coupled with a Polaroid. That's the original Polaroid by the company Polaroid. And I did that about 1 year ago. It's been 1 year that I minted, and I'm the very first person to do that. So now for the rest of my life, you know, people are like, she's the very first person to release a love poem on the blockchain coupled with an original Polaroid. I was the first one to ever do that. Poetry is starting to blow up in the space. So is fashion. But I was pioneering that, just like I'm pioneering on Bitcoin, because Ethereum is really big and Polygon for NFTs. So you're on Halair with me, which is built on Stacks, STX, STACKS, which is on Bitcoin. And so we're pioneering by being on that platform, which is growing in a very, very good way. But we're one of the very first female identifying artists on that platform.
And it's interesting. You mentioned it at one point, and I think I read also that in Web 3.0, there are actually relatively few women.
Right. January 12th, I got an article. It was in Variety, and it said 5%. And then my assistant released, the March collaboration. And I guess with the studies, it went up fast to 17%. So it is growing. But in addition to where do these go? So for, there's known origin, there's Rarible, there's OpenSea. OpenSea is like the Christie's and the Sotheby's of like the NFT world, right? Like creme de la creme. There's Matic, there's Polygon. There's for music, there's Sound XYZ. There's Mint Gold Dust. That's who they had me mint on for South by Southwest. And there's like an application you have to go through a process and stuff. And they were like, the CEO is a female, and she was on with Variety a couple weeks ago. So I was already like energetically connected to them before I even knew like I was going to be minting on that platform. So this is not financial advice. This is just my experience, but I am personally getting on every single platform. I'm going to be on every marketplace because then everyone can see you on all the marketplaces. But with the most important, smartest thing to do is you're on these marketplaces. They have their smart contracts built in, so it's easier for you. However, a lot of my friends and myself, I am getting my own smart contract. You can get your own smart contract through Manifold XYZ, right? Manifold, Manifold XYZ, and build your own smart contract. And you have your own smart contract. And when you have your own smart contract, you don't need to be on these other marketplaces. You can have your own IO website. People can come to your website, mint from your website, and then secondary, right? If they want to resell or whatever's left over that didn't sell out from the collection, can go on secondary to OpenSea, right? And you can have an OpenSea account there. But being a sovereign being, you can have your own smart contract and make that happen. And then, yeah. And that's what you would do. In regards to gas fees, which is like the monies that are taken out when there's gas fees, like when you buy an NFT, the collector pays the gas fee. So if you're an artist or the person putting it on OpenSea, you do not pay a gas fee. You do not pay any fees. No fees. It's absolutely free. You can put your collection on OpenSea for free. When someone buys it, the collector, they pay the gas fee. You get paid, and then every time it resells, you get that 10%. Now, for OpenSea, the very first time, so if you're like, okay, I want to get involved, I'll give it to you, Izolda, because I have a Coinbase referral code. Mm-hmm. So let me give it to you so you can put it in the show notes. Okay, so you have remind me to give this to you. I'm going to give it to you, but you download Coinbase with my referral code. You have a Coinbase account. Then you put funds from whatever bank account into your Coinbase. It takes about 14 days before you can transfer it to crypto for the very first time. Then you download a MetaMask app, and you set up your MetaMask account, and you get a seed phrase. 24 words that you write down, that you never tell anyone, that you never take a screenshot of, that you never put in your phone, you never put it anywhere. You write it, you memorize it. You write it down, you put it in a couple different places. It's your seed phrase. No one will ever ask you for your seed phrase. You never give anyone your seed phrase, no matter what. Also, never click on links. In Twitter, never click on links. It's scam. That's how you get scammed. That's how there's phishing. Never click a link in a Discord. You can go to settings and go to Discord settings and turn off DMs so no one can DM you, because it's just scammers and botters. Never click on links on Twitter. Never click on links on Discord. And then when you have your MetaMask and you have your seed phrase that you write down and never, ever, 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 ever give to anyone. When you have that, then you're going to connect the money you put in Coinbase to Ethereum to your MetaMask wallet. And then you're going to connect your MetaMask wallet to OpenSea. And the first time you mint, the very first time, you pay you mint when the gas fees are low. There's a website, there's an app, Ethereum Gas, that you can download. And when it's very low, then you can mint for like $7 or something, very small. And you mint it. And you pay a one-time gas fee just so OpenSea knows you're a real person, and so MetaMask knows you're a real person. After you connect it one time and you pay a one-time gas fee, you never have to pay a gas fee again on OpenSea. The collector does. So you can mint 100 projects or 1,000 today and pay no money. and then just market the F out of it and have people purchase your NFTs. That's one way. There's so many ways, but that's one.
Wow. That's a lot of information and really fascinating. And wow, my goodness, that was like a master class right there, Katie. Thank you so much. I appreciate it very much. This was amazing. I feel like we need to talk about the Women Empowerment Series because that's a project that you graciously asked me to join you on. Can you talk a little bit about that project, that NFT project, the Women Empowerment Series that you did with Halayer?
Yeah, I'll love to do that. I'm just trying to here, share your link, copy or share. I'm just gonna give it to you now so I don't forget.
Okay.
There we go. Okay.
You've got
So
a lot
put that
going
in the
on.
so put that in the show notes because you received $10 actually. You received $10 by using my code. Haha, that's cool.
Oh,
Awesome. Okay.
that's neat.
Yeah, I know. Super cool. So yeah, so what happened was with all the interests and projects and things I have going on, I was really grateful to meet the Halayer team. It's HEYLAYER, Halayer.com. And we met at Art Basel. We met at NFT Basel. And there was a women empowerment panel. It was an all women panel. And I rushed up and we were introduced and we talked. And then we got on the phone and we brainstormed for a few hours. And then we had another call with the strategy team. And they're like, okay, yeah, you dropped your album on 11/11 on OpenSea. You dropped the love poem. Like you have NFTs out, but we want to properly introduce you to the blockchain. Like, who is Kiriaki? Who is Katie Chonacas? So we, wrote down everything that I do, and then it went to the 11 pillars. So it's the 11 pillars of Katie Chonacas. It can be in the show notes if people want to check it out. And the 11 pillars has 22 NFTs. So 2 NFTs to each pillar. And they release one every single Thursday in onboarding and releasing my NFTs of who I am onto the blockchain. And then we have a collaboration where every single month through 2023, I'm dropping a new collection. So that's what we did for January. And then the second one was the Lover's Fairy Tale, the love poems for February, for Valentine's. And the third one, since it was, Women Empowerment Month, and I'm all about empowering women and exploring divine femininity in all genders. On the 8th, we dropped the collection. But instead of it just being my work, only work from me, as a producer, as a curator, as a humanitarian, of someone who loves to give and collaborate, I invited some of my friends in the NFT community to be a part of this collaboration of all genders, of anyone who wanted to support women empowerment and divine femininity. In addition, I asked people who weren't in Web3, like yourself, and I was able to onboard people into Web3. So it was really impactful and empowering for me to onboard people into this new space on a psychological level and shapeshift in a very graceful way, in addition to hold space for my fellow artists, and then also empower myself for my self-worth through my divine femininity, with my talents and my skills of, who I am and what more of how I want to endow that feeling of purposeful meaning, gratitude, community, heartfelt, supporting self and one another. And then, so as this was penetrating, and then what happened with Ukraine, I pivoted. I'm like, because first I was gonna donate, say, oh, let's donate everyone, each NFT 20% to, rape victims, or a woman nonprofit or something like that, like little girls or something like that. And then I'm like, oh, okay. I found out about Red Cross Ukraine crisis. So I thought, okay, 20% of each NFT will pay it forward to the Ukraine crisis. So that is ongoing. And it's not just for March. It's cool because I'm going to have a drop in April, but this March collaboration, it won't just be for the month of March. It will continue to grow and go on till all the pieces are sold. And sometimes pieces are up when you have a collection. Sometimes pieces are up for like a day and they sell. Sometimes they're up for 6 months and they sell. Sometimes they're up for a year and they sell. They could all sell out one day in one Twitter space room. It could be one person like Keith Grossman, the president of Time, or my friend Saba, like hosting a Twitter space for me who's well respected in the community. It could be someone who's hosting a space in a room and they hear the message and they hear the voice and they go and they go. I've been in rooms where like no one's selling their work and all of a sudden someone buys and then it's like this infectious thing where like everyone's like, oh, I just bought one. I just bought one. And someone's like, oh, I just bought three. And they all sell out. So this is going to be an ongoing thing, a part of my collective mission and my energy to empower self and the people involved in this collaboration.
Yay. And I'm so grateful to be part of this because it's a really innovative and creative way to support causes that you care about while at the same time still being this creative, expressive artist. So I'm super grateful that that is even a possibility, you know, with Web 3.0 and with you being such a wonderful, gracious tour guide for this new, I mean, it's very new to me. I'm extremely new, although I'm really interested in exploring and seeing how else I can be involved. So I'm super grateful to you for that. And I'm just, you're the best, you know, you're just the best. I want to thank you so much for taking the time and being here and being so gracious with your wisdom. I just keep coming back to you're the best. That's where I am. But I was wondering if you wouldn't mind, you've mentioned a couple of different places people can find you. Where are the best places to find you if someone says, I want coaching from this woman, she's magic, where's the place to do that? If someone wants to see your NFTs, where's the best place to do that? Would you mind I know people learn differently, so I like putting it in the show notes, but also having the person say it. Would you mind just letting me know, for anybody who's listening who wants to find you, where are the best places to do that for the various projects that you are in?
Yes, 1000%. But before I do, I have two other thoughts. Okay. So one, I would like to say, in addition to the collaboration, I coupled it with She's All Over the Place, my podcast. So you and a couple other people who've been on my podcast graciously, I did a curation where it was a collaboration with my podcast and then your art, right? So that was really cool that people will see in the collaboration. Also, I want to say, like, I love your art. Like all the ones you sent me, you're like, oh, which one should we do? I'm like, all of them. Like the birds and the colors and like the dark midnight one with like the electricity with the lightning bolts. And like, it was just all of them are so diverse. I'm like, yo, all of them, like they're all so good. So, kudos to you. And thank you so much for saying yes. And like, showing me your art and any other art that you want a part of the curation, or just like on different platforms, to get a couple of your works on different platforms, like, let me know with your poetry and things like that, all the artwork that you're singing, all your music, all those things. So I can guide you in that direction. But yeah, thank you so much for, showing up and being a part of the collection. It really, really means a lot. And I love your artwork. It's so beautiful. I know like things about you. And that's the cool thing about being friends, because we get to reveal and learn more, like stand-up comedy and music. But, to see these, physical, visceral art pieces, like I was like, oh wow, I was really impressed. They were really beautiful and feminine.
Thank you.
Feminine. Yeah.
Wow.
My pleasure.
That's lovely to hear. I am exploring myself as an artist in this way. So it's really lovely to hear that from someone who is such an amazing artist yourself, that you like my work. That's really lovely. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Yeah, it's the being part of this collection, like if you go and you look at the collection, it's really diverse. And yet there's this overarching theme of, I don't want to say women empowerment, but because that is obviously the theme, but there's this womanly sort of patina. There's a womanly environment in each one of these pieces that I just feel very strongly when I view them. It's really really overwhelming almost, like how powerful these pieces really are. I think some are subtle, but they all have a certain strength to them. I think it's really wonderful.
Yeah, great artists in the collaboration. To answer your question, Chonacas, CHONACAS.com, Chonacas.com. It'll say NFT artist at the top. You can see all the links for all the collections. You can hear my album there. If you click music, you can hear my podcast. She's all over the place. If you click podcast, if you want to book time with me, just go to contact and write me to book me for industry coaching, and sign up for my email list for the pink sheet. And I have a special PDF that gives you like Web3 lingo, like must know Web3 lingo. So yeah.
I need those. I'm already on your list, but I need them anyway. So I'm going to have to.
You.
Oh, awesome. Cool. Katie, again, oh, you're the best. I'm repeating myself. I sound like a broken record, but you are. I want to, you might remember this from the previous times you've been on the show, because you've been on the show a couple times before. I have a strange little question that I ask everybody who comes on the show, and it is strange, but I find that it yields some profound answers. And the question is this: if you had an airplane that could skywrite anything for the whole world to see, what would you say?
Live through kindness.
I love it. I love it. That's so fabulous. That's wonderful. Katie Chonacas, artist, actor, curator, writer, author, podcaster, musician, so many different hats that you wear, and you do them all with grace and love. I'm so grateful that you took the time to be here. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you. Thank you for the person tuning in and sticking around this whole entire time. We can be anywhere and we choose to be here. And Gary Vee says at a World's event in 2018, he was a keynote, and he said, we can only focus on one thing at a time, only one thing. So I value you, Isolde, and the person listening right now. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you. And I look forward to chatting more soon.
Yay. That's it. That's all that needs to be said. This is Isolde Trachtenberg for the Innovative Mindset Podcast. Thanking you once again for being here. If you're liking what you're hearing, please do me a favor, tell a friend, because as you can tell, we're building a community of people based in love, based in grace, based in power, based in kindness. And I remind you, as always, to go forth and be bold, be creative, and most of all, be kind. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate you being here. Please subscribe to the podcast if you're new, and it would mean the world to me if you told a friend about it. Today's episode was produced by Isolde Trachtenberg and is copyright 2022. As always, please remember this is for educational and entertainment purposes only. Past performance does not guarantee future results, although we can always hope. Until next time, remember to be bold, be creative, and most of all, be kind.